Our capabilities are overwhelming compared to what Iran's are. It means we're fighting to win. It means we set the terms. We'll know when they're not capable of fighting. There'll be a point where they'll have no choice but to do that. Whether they know it or not, they will be combat ineffective. They will surrender.
Now there's a new addition to America's Most Wanted, the Ayatollah's son. They just named Khomeini Jr. the new supreme leader. He's a hardliner just like his dad, and he wants revenge. His whole family's been killed, and he doesn't feel like surrendering.
Do you have to take him out? Does he have a target on his back?
You mean the new supreme leader? You mean the son?
How can there be an Iran?
Well,
with
I don't want to say that, but you know, I was disappointed because we think it's going to lead to just more of the same problem for the country. So I was disappointed to see their choice.
Very diplomatic by the president, but in reality, the Israelis probably won't let little Ayatollah live much longer. Ayatollah Jr. has gone into hiding. They stashed him away deep in an Iranian cave. And before this, his dad, who was now dead, was really cocky.
They said we have the inalienable right to enrich. They bragged about having 60% enriched fuel, enough for 11 bombs. They told me and Jared, we're not going to give you diplomatically what you couldn't take militarily. So, you know, I think they're going to need a change of attitude.
The president also telling Fox that Iran had 1,200 missiles pointed right at their neighbors. This is what he said just moments ago. Listen.
They were going to take over the Middle East. If we did not hit them, they were going to take over the Middle East. They had thousands and thousands since their last hit. They had thousands and thousands of missiles and everything else. Most are now destroyed. And if it starts up again, they'll be hit even harder.
Now that their missile production capabilities are being demolished, the president says, don't expect this to be a forever war.
We took a little excursion because we felt we had to do that to get rid of some evil. And I think you'll see it's going to be a short-term excursion. How good is our military, right? Amazing. How good? Short-term. Short-term.
He was asked, how short?
Mr. President, on Iran, you called it an excursion. You said it would be over soon. Are you thinking this week it will be over?
No,
Are you talking
but soon.
about days?
I think soon.
Okay, and with respect
Very soon.
The Iranians are running out of cards. Their plan has been to hunker down and wage economic warfare on their neighbors, raising the costs to the alliance. They've been attacking oil infrastructure and hit 3 tankers. That closed down the strait, sent oil prices to $119 a barrel. They're trying to fracture the coalition and hurt the president's people back at the pump at home. But over the weekend, Trump told the oil tankers to show some guts and start sailing. He promised to protect the strait with the U.S. Navy and U.S. insurance backstops. That loosened things up a little.
The plan is to get oil and natural gas and fertilizer and all the products from the Gulf flowing through the straits before too long. And I may break a little news here, but one large tanker has already gone through the straits with no issues at all.
Ships started crossing the strait. They've been shutting off their transponders to go through undetected. Remember, Iran's flying blind, so they can barely see the ships right off their coastline. The market opened down big, but then closed well up for the day. Crude oil dropping down to $85 a barrel. Trump's warning the regime remnants, don't touch the oil.
We're also focused on keeping energy and oil flowing to the world, and I will not allow a terrorist regime to hold the world hostage and attempt to stop the globe's oil supply. And if Iran does anything to do that, they'll get hit at a much, much harder level.
Iran needs the strait open just as much as we do. Iran gets all their revenue from oil exports. When that strait's closed, they're not getting paid, and the country can't keep the lights on. Once the strait fully reopens and the U.S. Navy controls the traffic and Iran's missiles and drones are fully neutralized, oil is expected to drop down to $50 a barrel. That starves Putin's war machine, and he'll be under pressure to sign a treaty with Ukraine. Putin sees the writing on the wall. He had a phone call with Trump today to talk about a truce. If Trump can end the Iran war and the Ukraine war, it's going to send prices on everything way down. And when his pick for Fed chair gets in this spring and cuts rates, and we get our record tax returns, and the market rallies, this country's really going to feel the boom. Benjamin Hall is our senior Fox News correspondent. Benjamin, this new Ayatollah, the son, what's he up to?
Well, Jesse, I've got to say that he's almost exactly the same as his father, if not perhaps a little bit worse. This is a man who is known for his brutality. He shut down earlier protests inside Iran back in 2009. He's known for his corruption. He's closely tied to the IRGC. And so certainly the idea that he is going to work hand in hand with the president or with the US is not going to happen. On top of that, his father, his wife, his son were all killed in that attack at the beginning of the conflict. So he is certainly not the man who we want to be dealing with. And the question is, who can we find within Iran who perhaps could work alongside the U.S.?
So let's say the Israelis take out Ayatollah Jr. Is this council going to select another crazy hardliner in the footsteps of the father and son? I mean, how long can they play this game?
Well, it's amazing. You would have to assume that they love being martyrs because, yes, yeah, Israel at least is going to keep moving down the chain as far as they need to go until someone within the regime realizes that they better start playing ball. And that's always been the point. President Trump has said, look, they killed the leaders. They even killed the second and the third tier. How far do you have to go until you find someone who will work alongside the U.S.? And certainly I think they will keep trying. And these people all have targets on their backs.
So what's the Iranian strategy?
You know, I think that Iran had two strategies at the beginning. It felt President Trump was afraid of two things. The first was sky-high oil prices, and they shut the Strait of Hormuz, at least they have tried to, and we saw the prices jump up to $120 a barrel. But look how quickly they came down as soon as President Trump said that this was almost over, that the war was coming to an end. It shot down again, so that is not a tool they can keep using. The other was attacking all of the Gulf allies in the region. They felt that that would turn the Gulf allies of Saudi Arabia and Bahrain against America. It didn't. It did the reverse. It brought them alongside the U.S. And Israel. And so what we're seeing are the two main weapons that Israel had backfiring on them, and they will be looking what they can do now their military is gone. How can they next take the battle to the U.S.? But they're running out of weapons, is the truth.
Yeah, they are. And the Putin-Trump phone call today, what do you think about that timing?
It's really interesting. Look, we expect President Putin to reach out and to try and speak to President Trump. You know, they talked for an hour today, and President Putin apparently had some suggestions into how they could bring this war to a close and de-escalate. But you have to remember that it was Russia who has been giving Iran targeting information so the Iranians can target American forces, while President Zelensky of Ukraine has been sending his experts to the region to give drone tracking technology. So, look, you look at the Ukraine war at the moment, and you have to start thinking that perhaps Russia continues to be on the aggressive side, whereas Ukraine is coming alongside to try and help the U.S. But, look, President Trump happy to keep talking to both sides, and he is hoping maybe after Iran that perhaps they can find a peace deal there as well.
So you've covered a few wars. You've studied it. What kind of timing are you looking at here in this Iran war?
You know what's interesting is President Trump saying so soon and that this is going to be over quite quickly. And I think that sent two messages, one to bring the oil prices down and one to send a message that it's not going to be a forever war. The military objectives have been achieved. The missiles are being demolished. Their factories are being demolished. The big question is what comes next? What pressure can you put on the regime to change it? And I think President Trump has been clear from the beginning that once the military is taken out and once the regime has been cracked, then it's the people of Iran who have to rise up. So you could offer that to them, but can you then allow the people of Iran to rise up? And I think this will end in the next week or two, and I think it'll be passed on. The one thing that I'm looking for at the moment is this little island in the Strait of Hormuz called Karg. 90% of Iran's oil goes through this little island. Back in 1988, President Trump was asked about Iran, and he said, I would seize Karg Island. It controls all their oil. The US and Israel have not hit this island yet. It's the size of half of Manhattan, tiny little island. Now, if President Trump were to take that, and it would require some special forces troops, but it's not heavily armed, it would, first of all, their military are gone, then he would control all the oil. That is a position that he can really negotiate from. So that's the one thing that I'm looking at the moment. It's certainly not for certain, but I think that really brings us to a conclusion, and it puts all the pressure both on Iran, but also on China, who gets 80% of Iran's oil as well. So I think we'll see this slow down in the next week or two, but President Trump putting himself in a position where he has all the say and the power over whichever regime, whichever leader, whether it's Junior Ayatollah or someone else, President Trump will have the power if he makes those moves.
Yeah, the embargo definitely worked off the coast of Venezuela. That squeezed him pretty hard. Hopefully this works as well on Karg Island if that's the move. Ben, good to see you. Thank you so much. Charles Payne's the host of Making Money on Fox Business.
All right, so we're going to leave that one there. We have this crazy footage here from the New York Post. CCTV footage of a Iranian missile hitting a road in Israel. No audio. Absolutely wild footage. This gentleman here seems to have, I guess, survived. I don't know. It's hard to say what his condition is based on that, but then we got this crazy footage here. And this happened earlier, way earlier in the day. Yeah, so there you have it. That happened. A little bit of aftermath stuff going on here. Crazy.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dana Perino, along with Kennedy, Harold Ford Jr., Jesse Waters, and Greg Gutfeld. It's 5 o'clock in New York City, and this is The 5. Happening right now, President Trump is speaking at the House Republican Conference's member retreat in Doral, Florida. And later this hour, he will be holding a news conference where I'm sure he will talk about the latest in Operation Epic Fury. He just told CBS in a phone interview this: "I think the war is very complete, pretty much. They have no Navy, no communications. They've got no Air Force." He added that the U.S. is very far ahead of his initial 4 to 5 week estimated time frame. The president says he has someone in mind to replace the new supreme leader, but he did not elaborate. Iran just selected the son of their slain former supreme leader. Over the weekend, the president was making clear the terror regime only has one option.
I said unconditional, not conditional. I said unconditional. It's where they cry uncle, or when they can't fight any longer and there's nobody around to cry uncle. That could happen too, because, you know, we've wiped out their leadership numerous times already. So it's if they surrender, or if there is nobody around to surrender, but they're rendered useless in terms of military.
This as Democrats and many in the media ramping up their criticisms of Epic Fury, with some folks accusing the president of being drunk on power.
This is Wilsonian adventurism at its very worst, something that conservatives, real conservatives like me, have long feared and loathed. Sort of drunk on power, this sort of drunk on militarism always leads to disaster.
If you support the troops, then you should be voting against funding this war.
The president has not even tried to convince the American people.
And now listen to the president from just moments ago.
Doing really well. I mean, at a level that nobody thought. We took a little excursion because we felt we had to do that to get rid of some evil. And I think you'll see it's going to be a short-term excursion. How good is our military, right? Amazing. How good? Short-term. Short-term.
I mean, you would like to think, Jesse, that everybody could agree that our military is extraordinary.
Of course. Afghanistan was a 20-year war. We are now in day 8 of this operation. He says it's ahead of schedule because they have very little Air Force or Navy left, and the missile launches and drone launches are down 90%. Has the regime collapsed yet? No, and that was part of the strategy going in. The deputy commanders were given full authority that if their bosses were killed, they could continue to wage war independently. So that's what you're seeing here, and those deputies obviously are going to have to be dealt with. Also, someone who has to be dealt with is the son of the Ayatollah. And once he is dealt with, I think that will hopefully send a message to the regime remnants that there's a new reality and they're going to have to give up their ambitions. But the big question is, Dana, will a militant, theocratic police state that's been ruled by clerics and militia and army for 40 years all of a sudden change their stripes under pressure? I think we're about to find out, but they are losing the war very badly. So now they're waging an economic war, and they're starting to hit Arab oil infrastructure, and they hit a few tankers. So they've closed the strait effectively. A couple cargo ships are going through, but not enough. So the president is very sensitive to the price of oil. He's gotten the Europeans to signal that they may release some of their reserves, but I don't think you're going to see oil at 150 or 200. That would be a catastrophe. And right now, it looked like it was up over 110 and it then closed below 90 and the market rallied. So I think you'll hear from the president at 5:30 when he speaks to the country that message that we are way ahead of schedule. He's got a control of the world energy oil market, and we should be hopefully wrapping this operation up very soon. I hope he's right. You never know.
Harold, what are you thinking today?
It's good to be back. I think Jesse is largely right. I would say the president took a hard look at the economic the strategy pursued by the Iranians, which, to Jesse's point, was largely to impart economic pain on us and the world. Even though we in the United States don't use as much oil as we did 20 years ago or 40 years ago, and our economy, as I tried to say last week, has grown considerably over the last 50 years, but our consumption of oil has not, for a variety of good reasons. Oil is a global commodity, so it's affecting global markets. And in addition, it affects us because of the reverberations it has in the transportation and agricultural sector. So everything we consume or eat, everything we need to live, oil is impacted, oil price is impacted by that. And I think the president saw that today. So I'm glad he pursued the off-ramp. The question for me will be sort of twofold here in the next several days. First is we have to pursue the off-ramp, and it sounds like the president, who is moved by the markets and numbers as much as any president in recent memory, sees that. How does Israel react and respond to this? And two, how does Europe react? Remember, the reverberations with the oil market are not just one day. You can't flip a light switch off and flip it on and expect this infrastructure and its ecosystem just to turn back on. It'll take a little time. I think about what may happen in the Middle East. Dubai has been a haven for economic innovation, for progress, and for safety. You have to wonder over the next several months, and I hope they get back there, the next few months and next several years, does that economic hub in Saudi and the UAE, how are they able to reclaim the credibility that they had prior to this war? And finally, I hope Congress does take an account of this, because we need to understand where we are, how much progress we made. It sounds like we hit a...
Man, some of that footage is insane. Okay. We have this right here, just very briefly. I believe this is from the devices that were thrown by the ISIS terrorists.
They're known as the mother of Satan, a favorite in global terror attacks. It's hard to detect, powerful, and extremely unstable. Luckily, it failed. The bombs didn't detonate, and no one was killed. But it's clear the plan was mass casualties. The suspects, Amir Balit and Ibrahim Qayyumi, have openly pledged allegiance to ISIS. When one was asked whether he was trying to stage something like the Boston Marathon bombing, he responded, no, even bigger. Later, he put it in writing.
He requested paper and wrote a message declaring in part, I pledge my allegiance to the Islamic State. Die in your rage, you kuffar. Now, die in your rage is a commonly known ISIS slogan, and kuffar is an Arabic term that refers to non-believers.
In court today, both men said nothing. But as the judge acknowledged their ISIS ties, Ibrahim smirked and looked over at Amir. Both are being held without bail.
The defendants are charged with attempting to provide material support to ISIS, using a weapon of mass destruction, transporting explosive materials, interstate transportation and receipt of explosive materials, and unlawful possession of destructive devices.
The men didn't come from a war zone. They drove from upscale family homes in Pennsylvania. Their vehicle entered the city less than an hour before the attack. Police later found the car registered to one of Amir's relatives, with a fuse, a metal can, and a written list of chemicals used to build explosives. The FBI searched both of their Pennsylvania homes today. And Amir Balat is a U.S. citizen. His parents, born in Turkey and naturalized nearly a decade ago. Here he is, flashing an ISIS hand symbol as he was let out of the precinct. Ibrahim Qayyumi's parents are from Afghanistan, became U.S. citizens more than 15 years ago. His mother filed a missing person report Saturday morning, saying she last saw him at their home at 10:30 a.m., less than 2 hours before the attack. That's interesting. Both men spent a lot of time in the Middle East in recent years, in Turkey and Saudi Arabia. Their connection? Amir's attorney says there isn't one.
What's the relationship between him and his co-defendant?
They're strangers as far as I know. When you say they're strangers, are you saying that the first time they communicated in any way was on Saturday, or are you saying they never met? Maybe they might have communicated on the internet or online. I'm saying they're from different parts of Pennsylvania. They're in different age groups. They are not known to each other. They do not live together. They do not have family or school ties. There is no reason to believe they knew each other prior to this incident, and I don't know how well they knew each other at the time of this incident.
Asked whether he believed Amir was a terrorist, he said, "I believe he's 18 and he doesn't have an idea what he's doing," adding he's got complicated stuff going on in his personal life. Sure. The case is now being investigated as ISIS-inspired terrorism, and the federal government's taking it over. This all comes as U.S. officials warn Iran may be trying to wake up sleeper cells overseas. Intelligence sources say encrypted messages believed to be from Iran were picked up shortly after Khomeini's death on February 28th. Those messages could have been a green light to terrorists outside of the country. Investigators are still probing whether the gunman who opened fire at an Austin bar was connected to Iran. He was wearing a shirt with an Iranian flag under a hoodie that read "Property of Allah." Was he activated or just a lone wolf inspired by the war? The timing of these two attacks, one deadly and the other attempted, is very suspicious. This is how sleeper cells work. Quiet, patient, pre-positioned, waiting for a signal. And if that encrypted alert is real, then the front line isn't just overseas. It's already here. And the Democrats have shut down the Department of Homeland Security when possible Iranian sleeper cells could be popping off. That's unforgivable. Stuart Kaplan's a former FBI agent.
Absolutely crazy. And the worst part about it is I did not hear a single thing about this on Canadian news at all. They were busy talking about celebrities in their homes getting shot up and all this other garbage about celebrities. Not one word about the ISIS terror attack in New York. Canadian mainstream media is fucking trash. And if it's not a headline with Donald Trump, they won't run it.
Stuart, do you believe this might have been a sleeper cell?
I think it highlights the importance that there are individuals amongst us, suburban young people, that have been inspired by extremists that have access to social media, gaming platforms, social media platforms, that are enemies of the United States are infiltrating and utilizing them to indoctrinate these younger people to, at some point in some time, to carry out these type of events that can have catastrophic impact on all of our way of lives.
Would these two individuals have been on the radar? You got parents, Afghanistan, Turkey, naturalized. You got younger people now, they're U.S. citizens, but they're flying to Saudi Arabia, they're flying to Istanbul. Would there anything there that would have alerted the feds?
Well, I think, look, when you go back and I have their itinerary, it was in the former administration. And so, quite frankly, the former administration was asleep at the switch. And so, to me, in this day and age, because the FBI has deployed at its highest level electronic surveillance, confidential human sources, our borders are as tight as possible. When you're coming in and out of an airport or other border checkpoints, the FBI with Homeland Security is, in fact, deploying assets that have never been utilized before. And thankfully, the President of the United States, Donald Trump, has issued that mandate. And so our borders are as tight as possible. The problem is, quite frankly, there are so many individuals here, just like these two young men, that are just waiting for either a signal or to be properly funded or plan the next attack on U.S. soil.
Are you buying that these two jihadists didn't know each other?
When it came from defense counsel on a New York City street, no, I would not buy what that attorney was saying at all. It was not a mere happenstance or a mere coincidence that both of them had deployed or attempted to deploy improvised explosive devices.
What kind of explosive device was this?
Well, it was a concoction of a different type of chemicals. And again, the problem is, the day and age of the internet, you can go online and figure out a recipe and order those chemicals online and put this cocktail together. And again, that's why I've advocated for stronger holds and stronger regulatory efforts on our social media platforms. And Jesse, I'm going to say, and I say it all the time, we all owe our responsibility to all of us here in the United States. If you see something, say something. And just like these parents probably were aware that maybe these kids were, off the radar or isolated in their bedrooms and having these isolated conversations, we need to bring those type of behavior patterns to our local law enforcement or to the FBI, because that is how you neutralize and identify these potential threats before they're carried out.
Yeah, the mom called the 911, said the son's missing. It's suspicious, just after a few hours of him not being there. That means that she knew he was up to no good. When you're that age and you go missing for 2 hours, it's no big deal. But if you're on their radar in 2 hours, that's a long time. Too long. Stuart, good to talk to you. Thank you so much. Happy Women's History Month.
All right, there you have it with that one. Let's see what's going on over here.
Getting attacked by the IRGC over the last hour or so. So we'll keep you guys posted on everything that's happening. And we have a big announcement on this channel tonight. So keep watching and we'll let you know what that is. All right, first things first, let's go to the insane scenes that we are getting from the capital in Iran. And then we're going to talk about what is happening with Mojtaba Khamenei, or Mushtaba, because he's a mouse like his father. Let's go to Tehran.
یا خدا آسمونو
Now, it's interesting when it comes to Mojtaba because there are a lot of speculations, not necessarily even just rumors, actual legitimate speculations that he may already be dead. But we can't confirm that. We know he's missing, and I'm going to explain why he's missing. But there is a theory, there is a whole conspiracy theory that the IRGC picked the dead leader because you can't kill a dead leader. But what they're going to have to do with his body is sort of like the weekend at Bernie's, where you just basically do the strings and you pretend that he's still alive. Let's go to the IRGC barracks in Esfahan that has now been flattened by the IDF.
Holy shit.
Also, we are already getting some updates about essentially what you can call a guerrilla warfare from the anti-IRGC Iranians on the ground. We have a couple of videos. One of them is this young woman who bravely goes into one of the bases and sets fire to it in the middle of war. But there is also some indications coming from our Israeli sources that, again, it's not confirmed, but I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think it's going to happen now, but they're making it sound like it's imminent. But apparently the US have prepared their special forces, elite forces, to prepare to go on the ground. I think this is just the propaganda part of war, to test the waters, to see the reaction. Unless we're going to get surprised and tomorrow morning we're going to wake up and the Americans are walking around the streets. I highly doubt that, but I do believe that they are at least considering the option, because President Trump wants to get this over with as soon as possible. It's not easy, but it is definitely possible. Now, Abbas Araghchi, the mini foreign minister of the Islamic Republic, has a very, very important statement for us, ladies and gentlemen. He has now said that Iran, as in the Islamic Republic, has many surprises in store to respond to the United States. Now, my question to Abbas Araghchi is, what was the first surprise? We're still waiting for any surprise from you guys. You've been saying surprises.
That's so
everything,
true.
unless the first surprise is
they don't have anything. I think they're just running their mouths at this point. And it seems like things are quiet. This very well might be the final days, or it could be the major calm before the storm. I don't know. What I do know is it's very quiet, so I'm thinking things are wrapping up, you know? We're not seeing airstrikes every hour, multiple airstrikes every hour. We're not hearing gunfire anymore. The last attack on Israel was this morning, and it wasn't a big one. It was like 1 or 2 missiles. So, at this point in time, I feel like the Iranian leadership is completely wiped out. Those fake reports or whatever claiming, oh, the so-and-so was alive with his leg blown off and all that. I didn't believe that shit for a second. Not for 1 second.
Intercepting a huge number of Iranian drones. This is what we received from the Qatari Defense Ministry. There we go. That's them intercepting and targeting the IRGC drones. Great job. There we go. That's another one gone. It's like a video game for them. They're loving it. But they're not obviously happy about the way the IRGC continues to hit them, while the president and everybody else says, oh, sorry, we hit you again. Oh, apologies. Tomorrow, I promise it's going to stop. And then tomorrow, more attacks. And then they're going to have to come back out and say, actually, you know what? It was the Jews. And then Qatar says, the Jews didn't hit us. We have evidence. It's your drones and it's your missiles. And said, we'll get back to you. And then the next day, the IRGC says, oh, yeah, it was the Jews, but they didn't hit. They tricked our brain. They used the space lasers, the Jewish space lasers. They manipulated the weather, and they poisoned the air, and they played with our mind, and then they controlled it. So we accidentally hit you. Sorry about that. We won't do it again. So there's been a lot of excuses from the IRGC, but they continue to hit them. So never be ashamed of anything you do in life if you have to apologize once, because you have.
Hey, shout out to the Jewish space lasers. Okay, we're gonna go back over here for now. I thought I heard a couple brief pops, maybe gunfire. I don't know though. This current point in time, I think I just heard something again. It is pretty quiet though, all things considered. I think most of the alerts are border confrontation line, people just popping up, taking a couple shots and going back down, maybe launching rockets or drones crashing into the border or something. Well, we will keep an eye out. I think most people that were covering this aren't even live tonight. I got a better multicam here. Let's take a look at this one.
Charlie Spearings, the author of Amateur Hour. I know, Charlie, it's tough to, try to campaign for president under the shadow of a commander-in-chief, wartime president who's taken out the Ayatollah and Maduro, but Gavin doesn't seem to be catching fire, is he?
That's right, Jesse. As you just pointed out, those polling numbers not good for Gavin Newsom because he's clearly, the more voters see you and the worse your polls go, that's a death knell for a politician. Notice how he was at Jesse Jackson's funeral trying to suck up to Obama, grinning like a Cheshire cat at a funeral. Not a good look either. So, and today, just recently, he starts acting like he cares about high gas prices all of a sudden. So the king of high gas prices in California suddenly cares about high gas prices. One more reason why voters are seeing him as just another slick politician, too slick for his own good, not fooling anybody.
What about Kamala Harris? I mean, she's still technically polling ahead.
Oh my God, Kamala Harris 2.0. No, thank you.
Of Gavin Newsom, but the guys with money, are they going to open up the wallet?
That's right, Jesse. It's really looking bad for Kamala as well because she had pretty high numbers going into the election, but ever since that election, ever since she lost, same thing going on with Kamala Harris at the funeral. For her to sit there and tell a congregation of black voters, I told you so, when you underperformed among those voters for not taking their concerns seriously. Really a bad look for Kamala Harris. I think she's only going to go down in the polls from here. She has that strong voter recognition, but I don't think anyone's going to want to see her back in the saddle.
No, I don't think so. I don't think either of those two could be the nominee. I think someone might just come out of nowhere. Maybe it's Carville. Maybe TDS Carville can come out of nowhere and take the nom. We'll see. He's definitely fueled by that fire. Charlie, good to see you. Johnny asks New Yorkers about Operation Epic Fury.
Do you support President Trump's actions?
I don't. I think there's so many different ways that he could have gone about this.
How?
He could have, I don't know.
Oh man, why would you even say it then if you don't know? Why even bother?
They quite like it. Iran was a very powerful military country with all of the missiles. Now, you had the double attack. You had the original attack with us and Israel, and that knocked them for a loop. Then you had the B-2 bombers, which took out their nuclear capability, and they would have had a nuclear weapon within 2 weeks to 4 weeks, and they would have used it long before this press conference, and we might have had a much different press conference if we had a press conference at all. But it's been amazing. The military success that we've had is truly unprecedented.
You've told your congressional colleagues that you will not sign any piece of legislation until the Save America Act is passed. Does that include the confirmation of Senator Mullen as your next DHS secretary? Does that mean a DHS funding bill? And Senator Thune said today, it's not a matter of whether or not your Republican colleagues agree with the policy. It's about changing the process. In other words, getting rid of the filibuster to get there.
So in order to get it, you're going to need Democrat votes. And what we're saying is the Save America, not the SAVE Act, which nobody knew what it was, the Save America Act, the Save America Act. And that's voter ID. We want voter ID. When a voter, we want to be able to see a picture of the voter. We want to be able to see that the voter is legitimate. We want, very importantly, confirmation that this voter is a citizen of the United States of America. And we want no mail-in ballot scams. So we have exceptions for the military, for sick, for disabled, and for people that are away, business trips or whatever. Even vacations will be very liberal in that. We've added two things to it: no men in women's sports and no transgender mutilization of our children. We don't want it's mutilization of our children, and we don't want that. So we added those two things. That's the 5 points. We have 5 very good points. It polls at 86% with Democrats Think of that. The overall vote is 86%. With Republicans, it's 98%. And the only one opposed to it is a Democrat leadership because they cheat. They want to cheat. So
Let's go back and listen to it.
very good points. It polls at 8.
Hang on.
Two things to it: no men and women's sports, and no transgender mutilation of our children. We don't want.
That is not the word to use.
In sports, and no transgender mutilation of our children. We don't want our it's mutilization of our children, and we don't want that. So we added those two things. That's the 5 points. We have 5 very good points.
I like how he messed it up and then he repeated the mess up. He's like, I'm just going to say it.
It polls at 86% with Democrats. Think of that. The overall vote is 86%. With Republicans, it's 98%. And the only one opposed to it is a Democrat leadership because they cheat. They want to cheat. So we added those 2 points.
All right, hold on.
Iran keeps driving up the price of the war by attacking oil infrastructure. Take a look at this. An Iranian drone hit an oil refinery in Bahrain today. President Trump said he may have to take control of the Strait of Hormuz to ensure the safe passage of goods. Now, there's an indication from Tehran today that the regime will not fold. Take a look. Thousands filled the streets to celebrate the appointment of Mujtaba Khamenei as their new supreme leader. He's a hardline Shia cleric who's expected to have similar policies to his father. Mujtaba's father, mother, wife, and son have all been killed in this war. Now, President Trump earlier referred to him as an unacceptable option. We'll see how Trump handles this now that he's saying the war will come to an end soon. Jesse?
All right, Nate, thank you. Stay safe. Now, 9 days ago, war broke out. The Ayatollah was killed. So how are Americans taking it? Johnny went out to Union Square Park to find out.
Tell me about Operation Epic Fury.
I don't know about that. Epic Fury?
Epic Fury? Sounds like it could be a couple different things.
Is this Trump bombing Iran?
It has to do with what's happening with Iran. What is happening with Iran?
A little bit of bullshit.
There's just so much going on, and it's really unfortunate what's going on.
What is going on?
That's a good question.
It was actually on my birthday, and I was like, wow, this is very anxiety-inducing. Like, I'm watching on national television while I'm, like, at a bowling lane, huge screens.
It wasn't the type of strike you were hoping for.
Definitely not.
We want regime change because we're afraid that they get nuclear weapons.
What can I say? We're protecting our country.
Do you support President Trump's actions?
Absolutely not. I think he's disgusting.
He's disgusting for wanting to protect America.
I don't really care what he does to protect America.
I don't. I think there's so many different ways that
You literally live in a... Dude, these people are brain dead. Holy Christ, man. That's supposed to be California.
he could have gone about this.
Or was it New York?
How?
He could have... I don't know.
Disappointed because I feel that, Trump was very clear when he ran that he was, no war, no war.
He's protecting our country. We have to know this. Probably should have done it a long time ago.
I don't support anything that he does, actually.
If President Trump cured cancer in America, would you support that?
I would still not support him because he probably did it to get money.
You ever heard of TDS?
Nope.
You might have it.
What is that?
Trump derangement syndrome.
No, I'm just really smart.
Do you want Iran to have a nuclear bomb?
Absolutely
not.
not.
I doubt that.
I think of the children's.
I don't want them to have nothing. They should let the country go back where the women for free. They don't have to cover their heads. It's ridiculous.
No, I don't.
President Trump is preventing Iran from having a nuclear bomb by doing what he did.
Yes.
So what was wrong about this?
I don't know.
There are other ways of intervention without creating a war.
What are the other ways?
There are many different other ways other than...
We'll just name one.
Sit down, have a conversation.
I don't care.
You don't care if Iran, our enemy, has a nuclear bomb.
Iran is not my enemy, number one. I don't know those people. I've never been to that country. How is someone my enemy and I don't know them?
Well, if Iran has a nuclear bomb and they use it on us,
well, then we
might
all
not
die.
be here.
It doesn't matter. At that point, if they already have it, if they're already building it, what can I do?
President Trump is taking action so that doesn't happen.
Okay, and
This person's on drugs. Nah.
If America's killing people
You're not going to get a solid answer from that person.
in Iran, like what makes a difference if people in America get killed?
That might mean you die.
Then
The Ayatollah is dead. You've got to be happy about that.
No, I don't even know who that is.
He was the Iranian dictator.
Congratulations.
He stayed so that he could get killed, so that he could be a martyr. I think he's happy he died.
Now we have a chance of, protecting ourselves.
I never met him. He's probably an ass, but, I'm glad he's dead.
Do you trust that the United States will handle this war properly?
Menza menza, like they say in Italian.
no, I do not.
You gotta trust. Yeah, we were built for this. We were made for this kind of stuff. So yeah.
No, I think the United States has done some pretty shady things.
What about Israel?
It's not a fan of Israel, and I will stand on that firmly.
Do you trust Iran will handle this properly?
I don't know.
Iran, they're rational people.
They're just people like you and me, though.
Just like you and me.
Yeah.
What is your message to the President of the United
Oh, man. Talk about out of touch and just not smart. Very, very stupid. Back over the skylines here. Not much going on tonight. Not much going on. We shall see what happens tomorrow. Stream isn't over just yet, but we are getting close. Not much going on. They must be Canadian. I think that was in New York, if I had to guess, based on that one woman's accent.
It's under investigation, but tomahawks are used by others, as you know. Numerous other nations have tomahawks. They buy them from us. But I will certainly, whatever the report shows, I'm willing to live with that report.
That guy, it's clearly TDS, and you can tell. Mr. Trump, you're the only one in the government saying this. Well, he is the highest official in the government, so go fuck yourself, loser.
Yeah, please.
You said earlier that we've already won in many ways, but we haven't won enough. What do you consider enough? What's your baseline?
Where they're not going to be starting the following day to develop a nuclear weapon, where they'll look at that man and some other people from the administration and say, all right, we're not going to do it. They were not willing to say that. And when Steve called up and he said that to me, I said, well, here we go. Let's do it the hard way. But the hard way, I think, is probably the easy way. When basically I can see that they will no longer have any capacity whatsoever for a very long period of time of developing weaponry that could be used against the United States, Israel, or any of our allies. We have great allies in the Middle East, great countries that are allies. And they were staying out of it until they got hit. Someday they'll have to do a story. Why did he do that? Why did they do that? But they were going to hit them. If I didn't hit them first, they were going to hit our allies first. I believe, upon information and belief, but I believe that he was going to, they were going to take over the Middle East. They were looking to take over the Middle East. Now, had Operation Midnight Hammer not taken place, that was definite, because they would have had a nuclear weapon within a matter of weeks. But that took place. That was a setback. But look at the number of missiles they were able to buy and make over the last 6 months. And those missiles were aimed at various countries. And when you look at over 1,000 missiles shot at like UAE, they were looking to take over the Middle East. We got there first. We're lucky. I'll tell you what, the Middle East and those countries, very rich countries, are very lucky that I was president instead of somebody else.
Points of disagreement between yourself and your vice president when it comes to U.S. action in Iran?
I don't think so. No, we get along very well on this. He was, I would say, philosophically a little bit different than me. I think he was maybe less enthusiastic about going, but he was quite enthusiastic. But I felt it was something we had to do. I didn't feel we had a choice. If we didn't do it, they would have done it to us. I felt, based on the negotiations that were being had by Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner and Marco and Pete, and everybody was involved, I felt that they were going to that they were looking to tap us along before they hit, and I thought they were going to hit. And if they hit us first, that would have been a very bad thing. In the back, please, in the back. About the strait, you mean? Yeah, well, I want to keep it open. I want to keep it good. You know, it doesn't pertain to us so much as it does to China. We're really helping China here and other countries because they get a lot of their energy from the straits. But hey, look, we have a good relationship with China. It's my honor to do it. Yeah.
Supreme Leader, you have called him an unacceptable choice. So does he have a target on his back? And how can you say
I don't want to say whether or not he does because
literally someone already asked him that question. It might have been her, I can't remember. Someone just asked him that fucking question and he wouldn't answer it.
that would be inappropriate. But hey, look, I had a target on my back because, as you people wrote pretty well, they caught the assassin that was after me. So we just got them first, but they caught the assassin.
It was her? Okay.
They have him now in custody that was after me. So, you know, but people don't like.
March 1st during an Iranian strike at Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia. He died from his injuries on Sunday, making him the 7th service member killed during the war on Iran. Kirk Lippold is a retired U.S. Navy commander and military analyst. All right, Commander, tell us what we should expect to see at this dignified transfer.
Jesse, what we'll see at the transfer is that the body, which is in a flag-draped metal casket, will be picked up by the service members, usually from the same service that he died, and they will escort it off of the aircraft in front of dignitaries and the families, and they will place it into the van or the hearse that will then complete the transfer, and the body will then be taken to the mortuary affairs at Dover Air Force Base.
Wow. Obviously a very solemn event. He was a member of the Army's elite 1st Space Brigade in Saudi Arabia. What was he doing there?
Basically, what that brigade does is that they provide protection against ballistic missiles. They provide some of the targeting data and the cueing so that when we pick it up on a phased array radar, which is inherent with the anti-ballistic missile systems, that they can shoot those down. It is a very important job that allows us to protect critical infrastructure and assets throughout Saudi Arabia, the oil fields, for example, the refining capacity, also the terminals that can protect it, as well as government buildings. So the job that he was doing was extremely important to the defense of Saudi Arabia, one of our key allies in the region.
And Sergeant Pennington, well decorated, was a Boy Scout, enlisted right away, Eagle Scout, honors student. Sounds like just a great American.
Jesse, these are the great young men and women who take a look and will figure out what they want to do with their lives, and they choose a life of consequence. They choose to serve our nation. They raise their right hand, and in doing so, they truly honor the legacy of those who came before them, and they also build the future knowing that what they're going to do is in defense of our nation.
Well, it's a tough day to experience something like this. I encourage everybody to stick around and watch Sean Hannity. He's going to have live coverage of this very solemn event.
Well, we will not be sticking around to watch Sean Hannity because I cannot stand that guy. All right, moving on.
Doing.
We got this that just popped up. Looks like the power is out in Tehran. Let's shut that off. People are seeing strange flashes of light in the sky. It's coming from Faytox Network, Faytox News. Not sure what's going on there. Widespread wave of strikes in Tehran. Widespread power outages in Tehran. Explosions producing bright white lights. So I don't fucking know what that is. That looks like something out of Halo or some shit. I don't know. Moving onward. Okay, so we actually have a community note just under, because there's the post from Faytux News right here. And then I scrolled down and there's another one, and it claims it's an electrical transformer exploding. That would make sense. That would make sense. Yeah, it's extremely quiet tonight. Not much of anything going on. Jesus Christ. Didn't expect that to be loud. Not much of anything going on. Gonna watch a bit of this and then probably call it.
A suspect allegedly telling police he wanted a bigger body count than the Boston Marathon bombing, as 2 Pennsylvania men face federal charges tied to an ISIS-inspired terror plot right here in New York City. They're being accused of lobbing 2 homemade IED explosive devices near Mayor Zohran Mamdani's home. Devices packed with nuts, bolts, screws, and a very dangerous chemical. It happened during a clash between dueling protests right outside Gracie Mansion. One of the suspects shouted Allahu Akbar, and according to court documents, one of them said they pledged allegiance to ISIS. Mayor Mamdani failing to mention ISIS earlier today, but he made sure to call out white supremacy. Watch.
This was a vile protest rooted in white supremacy entitled Stop the Islamic Takeover of New York City. I'm the first Muslim mayor of our city. Anti-Muslim bigotry is nothing new to me. Many of the counter-protesters met this display of bigotry peacefully, with a vision of a city that is welcome.
Peacefully? Buddy, you cannot spin this one. The spin tactics aren't gonna work there, pal.
To all. But a few did not. 2 men, Amir Balat and Ibrahim Kayumi, traveled from Pennsylvania and attempted to bring violence to New York City. They are suspected.
Okay, I was gonna say, there's no way he's gonna spin that. Are you serious? Like, it's in broad daylight. There's footage everywhere. If he tried to spin that, holy shit, man. There's probably a good reason they're protesting.
Of coming here to commit an act of terrorism.
Yeah, great mayor. He's the best. Holy Christ, this guy's a moron. Absolute fool.
Zohran later putting out a statement that finally acknowledged ISIS, and it looks like the media bent over backwards to downplay the role of radical Islam. NBC's headline reads, 2 in custody after suspicious devices lit outside Gracie Mansion amid anti-Islam protest. And the New York Times first line on their story reads, at least 1 counter-protester threw a homemade bomb on Saturday during a violent clash with far-right protesters outside Gracie Mansion in Manhattan. Harold, I have some difficulty with this because it's bad enough when the mayor minimizes things, when he first said that it was a display of bigotry that was met peacefully. That's what he said at first, and could barely bring himself to admit that it was terrorism. But then you have the New York Times, our own city publication, the mainstream media, carrying water for the mayor and minimizing it as well. Is that a good strategy?
I don't know. I think that I watched Paul Morrow, and I don't mean to look. It's hard for me to get in other people's heads, and your take on him, Kennedy, could very well be exactly the right one. But my takeaways were a little different. I saw Paul, I think, on with you, Dana, earlier today, and he said, look, these moments, we should be thankful. And I know you are, we all are. We have the best police force in combating terrorism in the country. They spare us and save lives every single day from efforts like this. I do hope, I was glad the mayor came back out to say what he said, and I was equally impressed, if not more so, with Commissioner Tisch earlier. Two, I thought the most important thing that Paul said earlier was we have to be willing to step back, and even those inspectors and those in NYPD, and figure out what we're doing well and what we're not doing well. And I say we because we as New Yorkers have to understand that as the nation is on higher alert, in light of what we're faced with overseas and in light of our posture overseas, we're going to have to be even better than the best that we've been. I am so delighted also that the mayor, I give him another piece of credit, he praised those police officers who saved his life and perhaps saved he and his wife's life. And I only hope that this will cause him to rethink any cuts he may want to make in New York Police Department, New York City Police Department, because we may be
If they cut funding to the NYPD, oh my fucking God, I could not imagine. Why would you do that? Why? I just... Don't do that. Don't do that. As a matter of fact, you should be funding them tenfold and you should hire more. You should try and bring more police from other states that don't have insane amounts of crime even. Hire veterans, hire anybody. I mean, holy Christ, yeah, let's defund the police. Let's fire half the force. Let's get rid of all their weaponry and whatever the fuck equipment. Great idea. Let's let New York run wild.
Facing more of this than less over the next few weeks or months.
Yes, absolutely. I'm surprised he didn't ask for more social workers to be there in order to act as his shield against these Islamists.
We saw this under Barack Obama when he would downplay radical Islamic terrorism, and then he would almost blame Islamophobia for justifying it. You saw Benghazi, he blamed it on some dude on YouTube. And in a way, it kind of rhetorically justifies the terrorism. Oh, come on, you're responding to some haters. That's kind of when you read between the lines. And did that work? No. For 8 years, this country was riddled with a series of domestic terror attacks. Never went away, all over the world. And it wasn't until Donald Trump came on that attacked it directly, verbally, explicitly, and physically. He bombed the bejesus out of ISIS and then slapped a travel ban on. So we've now had 2 domestic terror attacks here since the war began. One attempted, one deadly. And the Democrats have defunded Homeland Security, which is completely irrational. And the right thing to do here is to praise the NYPD, because if those guys hadn't been there on the front lines, I mean, that would have been a disaster.
I agree.
God bless them.
I mean, they were attacking a Muslim mayor's house. And when they were asked by, the counter protesters were almost outnumbered by press there. And when he was being apprehended, one of the suspects, they said, "Why did you do this?" And he said, "ISIS." And the mayor has a hard time bringing himself to say that as if it's a mystery.
Well, it should be no surprise to anybody that the guy who called to globalize the Intifada thinks that the protest was the problem in the first place. And I'm glad that the FBI is taking the lead on this, because would you want Alvin Bragg to be the one prosecuting these guys? Plus, they pulled up for me. I just had this thought. Apparently, in their questioning, they said that they wanted to be like the Boston Bombers. Well, guess what the media did with the Boston Bombers? Here's the cover of the Rolling Stone magazine. Think about that one guy. He wants to look like him. His hair's like his. They want the glory, not only apparently from Allah, but also from the media. And unfortunately, they're too often likely to get it. The original protest, I don't care about Jack Lang. He might be a lunatic. But you don't get blown up because you have controversial views. And there was only one side in this protest that got violent, and it wasn't Jack Lang.
And it wasn't just violent.
That's true. It's fucking every time Jake Lang goes out and does anything. Anyway, that's going to do it for the 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time stream. Thank you all for joining on YouTube, Rumble, and Kick. And have a great rest of your day or night, depending on where you're from. Adios, everyone.
Violence. It wasn't, and that's what the mayor was trying to say. Like, you know, there were threats and there was some violence, and it was murder. It was intended murder, and that's what terrorism is. And these guys are going to be pretty severely